Divorce may end a marriage, but when children are involved, it does not end the relationship between the two parents. So, how do you co parent when communication is strained? Trust has been damaged, and nearly every decision feels like another opportunity for conflict. Today, we're talking about how parents can stop reacting to one another and being creative and practical, child centered systems that bring you more stability, accountability, and emotional safety to their families. Welcome back. Welcome to Divorcing Strong, the podcast that pulls no punches when it comes to divorce. I'm Becky Sampson, better known as Bulldog Becky Brockovich, and I'm here to give you the straight talk, the strategies, and the subpoena secrets you won't hear anywhere else. With expert guests and proven advice, you'll learn your rights, your options, and gain your power that encourages a fair and equitable outcome. Divorce doesn't have to break you. It can build you. Let's get to it. Awesome. Welcome back to another episode of the Divorcing Strong podcast. It's been a couple weeks, actually, because I've been out of town on business trips. Oh my goodness, lots and lots of good stuff. And I got a business call this morning while I was at the gym on the treadmill. And literally, with so many people going through divorce and they're needing the right information. And so I got a call this morning that just about subpoenas and like, how do we get them and how do we get them to go through and all that fun stuff. So anyway, if you kind of hear some things about subpoenas, it is something that I truly believe that if you're not getting the right information, really, I say stop asking for permission and just go get what you need. But today we're going to be talking about co-parenting, and I'll even know that I have not personally, I wasn't blessed to have children, and going through the two divorces I did, believe me, I've heard a lot of stories and a lot of craziness that happens when it comes to kids, and unfortunately, the kids are the ones that really do suffer. And I'm very grateful when I find people that are in this industry and that are here to support the children, because I think sometimes they lose their voice, they lose their ability. And I'm also involved now in a case where I'm seeing the damage that it does to children when we don't, as adults, make the right decisions to protect them. And we're going to really, I see my guest going, yep, you're right. I can see her backstage. And so I just am really excited for this conversation and to bring you yet another resource that you can use to navigate the divorce, especially if you're having some really difficult times communicating. And you might be divorced, you may be heading towards divorce, trying to figure out how you're going to navigate with children the best that you can for them and for you and your former spouse. So my guest today is Rita Morris, and she's a certified BH2O, BEH2O, I don't know if they say B, co-parenting coach. So Rita has more than 20 years experience supporting families as they navigate conflict, separation, and major life transitions. Through the BH2O approach, she helps parents move from conflict to clarity by developing co-parenting systems that keep the needs of the emotional well-being of their children at the very center, which is so vitally important. Her work helps parents understand that successful co-parenting is not necessarily about agreeing. It's becoming friends or pretending that the conflict does not exist. It is about creating healthier boundaries, clearer expectations, and greater consistency so children are not caught in the middle. And so welcome to the show, Rita.
Thank you. I'm so delighted to be here.
Yes. I wish this wasn't a thing.
Me too, for real.
It is, and I know when we've talked before, it really saddens my heart sometimes when this goes sideways and the kids are really caught in the middle. And so I'm hoping today on this show that we can kind of give options, give ideas for people who may be in the thick of it right now and seeing the damage that it does cause their kids and seeing opportunities to going, you know what, there could be a better way.
Yes, yes, there could be
Yes.
a better way. There is a better way.
I know. And so I really would like to kind of just start this off with is tell everybody kind of your backstory. What got you into this industry? What makes you passionate about serving parents when it comes to the children during this process? And you've really niched down into that. So kind of give us that backstory.
So I come to this from a very personal place, like many people do.
Mm,
Um, I was the kid who was caught in the middle of that conflict. My
mm,
parents believed truly that it was better for them to stay together
mhm,
for the sake of the children.
mhm.
And truthfully, it was a nightmare growing up. There was conflict and there was tension, and I always sort of felt like I was waiting for the other shoe to drop, and I never knew what that shoe would be.
Which is a lot of anxiety for these kids.
A lot of anxiety,
Mm,
yes, never knowing what to expect. And I really grew up thinking, I used to say as a kid, I want to be a social worker. And I wanted to be a social worker because in my kid brain, that was how I could make a difference and make things better for
mhm.
people. I can really remember there was a time when I didn't even know that divorce was a thing. I just knew there had to be a better way. But I literally wished that one of my parents would die so that it would end.
But how old were you when this was happening?
It was my entire life. My parents didn't divorce until my mom asked my dad to leave the day after I graduated from college.
Oh wow. So I mean, so you knew that they were in conflict or something wasn't right when you were young?
Oh, there was constant conflict, fighting.
Mm.
Police were often involved. Yeah, it was really ugly. It was really bad.
Yeah, and so that then obviously drove you to so what happened after college once this happened and what got you like studying this and wanting to help?
I grew up wanting to help. I grew up thinking there has to be a better way. So I
Yeah.
started my career actually. I majored in psychology in undergraduate school, and then I went on to. I worked at a domestic violence shelter,
Mm.
and I worked with the homeless population. And then I went back to graduate school, got my master's, and I did therapy for many, many years. And I loved doing therapy, and I still actually do some therapy. Um, and then I was actually kind of recruited by someone to do co-parent coaching, and I didn't even know it was a thing. And like when she called me and asked me if I would interview for this position, it was like fireworks went off. I was like, "That's it, that's it, that's the way. This is the way."
Yeah.
And so I've been doing it now for the co-parent coaching for 10 years. And I do it. I say it every day. I do it for those kids who are stuck in the middle of that mess.
What's interesting is I have another business called Passion to Payday. And we talk about this a lot is the reason why coaches end up doing what they do is because of what they've been through and they want to go and serve other people. And I love that you at a young age, I mean, knew that there was something that you could do and and that your path took you along that way and people encouraged you to say, hey, you had this experience, now why don't you go and support? And you can see it not only from the children's perspective, but now being an adult, and I've gone through being a therapist, you can see it from both sides. And what a
Yes.
beautiful gift that you can give as a service to your clients and the people going through the divorce. So, so tell everybody kind of, first of all, thank you for doing what you do because it's not easy being in this space when you're in a lot of conflict and things like that. So how would you, for people that are listening, how would you create the child or what happens when people come to you, that child-centered co-parenting approach? How do you help them stabilize maybe something that's not very stable at that point?
So it's important to point out or remind people that, when parents are in the middle of a divorce, everything is just chaotic, right?
Right.
And they're in the middle of an emotional tornado. And so it's
Mhm.
really easy to feel like it's okay, the kids will be okay, kids are resilient. And yes, that is true. Kids are resilient. But what
Mhm.
builds resiliency for kids is being able to count on the adults that are around them.
Yep.
So most often when people come to me, they are in the middle of a tornado. They're feeling relatively hopeless. And what I see a lot is, we got divorced because we wanted the conflict to end, and it doesn't. I
No,
hear,
that's what people think. They
yes,
think, right?
yeah, there's this idea that once you get that, you sign those final papers, that the conflict is over. But that just begins a whole new chapter in
Mhm.
your relationship. And so, what I like to say is, you are now in the business of raising your children together. You are business partners, which may sound cold, but if you think about that, if you are in a business and you have a business partner, in general, you're going to treat them with a level of respect, right?
Right.
And so that's the goal, is a level of respect. And you always make your decisions based on what's best for the business. So
Mm.
making
Ooh, I
your
like that
decisions,
mindset.
right? Making your decisions based on what's in the best interest of your kids is just part of your business deal.
So, okay, that's ideal,
Yes,
right?
yes, it is.
So let's talk reality because obviously you're getting divorced for a reason. I had a really long conversation yesterday with, my husband and my husband's amazing, by the way, and we went and sat down and I was sitting in this room where all four of us had been divorced, right? And the other three of them had children. And so we were talking about how the children were weaponized and, you know, torn from the other person and said all this stuff. And then the kids. Okay, so then I'm sitting there just going, okay, I hear this every single day, right? And to some degree I get to experience it because of my husband, being married to my husband. But and the reality of it is that just, I mean, I my first divorce, I didn't have a lot of conflict. I mean, we did. It was tough, but eventually we came around and we worked it out, right? The second one, never again. Like it's just there's just no way that we could bring that back together. And so I got to see both sides of it, right? I got to see how it can be, collaborative. It can be that way. And that's ideal. That's really, I love showing people that that's ideal. But what happens if you're dealing with somebody that's so hard to deal with and difficult, and you're still trying to hold it together for your kids and your family and for yourself?
Mhm. That's a big question, and my answer to that question is always twofold. One is self-care, and it's a buzzword these days. But
No,
when I
it's
talk about
super important.
yeah, yes, when I talk about self-care, I'm talking about, are you getting enough sleep? Are you
Yep,
hydrating?
the
Are you getting
basics.
some fresh air and some movement? The like really, let's go back to basics, because if you're not sleeping, everything else is just going to be so much worse, right?
Hmm.
So self-care and building yourself a team. Divorce has become so difficult and so challenging that if you don't build yourself a good, solid team, it's not going to wind up going well, because it's very emotional. We hear all the time, don't make big decisions when you're in the middle of an emotional turmoil or a
Yep.
big transition. Well, that's exactly what divorce is. And it requires so many big decisions. Are
Right.
we going to keep the house? What's our parenting time going to look like? All of those things are involved. So if you have people around you who can support you and offer you clarity, it's the clarity is going to be really, really important, because you need the objectivity, and you can't get clear without the objectivity.
Okay, I'm going to ask this question because it just came to me. I mean, with someone listening and they're like, okay, do I really need a coach around, co-parenting, or can I just ask my family member or friend or whatever to help me with this? Why is that so important that you get the proper help in creating that team?
And the reason it goes back a lot to that level of objectivity. Your friends and family members, they want to support you, And that may mean that their perspective is skewed in terms of what's best for the kids.
Right.
So if say, for example, your co-parent was unfaithful, your friends and family are going to feel like, you know what, they're a big jerk. And they're going to want to support you in that perspective.
And they're going to have that fighting, like, oh, go do this and do that. And it's like, that is not going to get you necessarily the result that you need.
No,
Right.
no, it's not. And it's not the result that your kids need.
Right, exactly. And I think I think sometimes we're in survival mode going through divorce, that we just grasp at anything and everything that we can
Yes.
instead of strategically. So before we came on here, we were talking about the power of the pause. Like, talk a little bit about that. And you're like, yes, I tell people all the time about that, because I wrote a poem about it, and I probably will upload it onto my website, beckysampson.com, so you can go read it. But it really is how important it is to just, before you make those decisions in an emotional, especially when it has to deal with your kids, pause for a second. So talk a little bit about what that and what your philosophy is, and how that can really influence the results.
It's the difference between responding and reacting. And generally when we react from an emotional place, right? We're not necessarily thinking clearly. And so what I say to people is, try to notice in your body what happens when you
Mhm.
start to get triggered or escalated, or whatever the word is. We all use different words for it, right? Um, and then as you notice that, that's your key to, okay, I really need to take a pause, right?
Yep.
And it's those physical things that can really cue us into, oh, here I go, I'm going over the edge, right? Um, so
Can you give us a few more of those clues? I know for me, when I feel like my head's spinning and I'm not like grounded on one concept, I'm like, okay, I got to go ground. Like, I got to
Mhm.
go in my backyard, lay on my grass, connect with the earth. But what are some other things that you have experienced with your clients, of like, what are some of those things that they're like, oh yeah, that's me. I I need to go
The immediate picking up the phone, and the million mile an hour texting back.
right.
Your heart races, you get sweaty. I had one client who told me that she used to like scrunch up her toes.
Mm.
So muscle tightening.
Stop breathing. That's one of the ones I have to get conscious of, like, wait, Becky, have you taken a breath lately? I mean, I know we breathe, but when you're so tense, you're like, oh, I forgot. Okay, just, whoa, just breathe.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And it sounds so simple, but it is so powerful. So yes,
Hmm.
being able to just stop and take that deep breath. There's a I believe he's a sociologist. His name is William Ury,
Mm.
and he came up with this concept of stepping onto the balcony
Ooh,
so that you
tell me
can,
about that.
yeah, you can see the big picture. So now you're standing, you're up above, you're looking at the big picture, which gives you the opportunity to then explore, what are the long-term consequences of this decision that I'm making right now? So in my coaching, I talk a lot with people like, okay, let's take a step back on the balcony. What do you
Mm.
see? And I invite them to think about, in 15 years, when your child tells the story of this season of their life, what's the story that you want them to tell?
Mm.
And ideally, the story is, I felt safe and loved in both homes and supported in having a relationship with both of my parents.
And what if one of them's not playing nice? I mean, I think people feel really out of control in this space, because
Mhm.
it's just like, okay, before that you both in the same house. Now that you're in a different house, they still try to control what happens in that other house. And speak to that. Like, how can you still remain calm and influence? I don't like the word control, but influence the other person, even though they're difficult,
And so the truth is that you can't. You
right?
can't influence the other person. And that's one of the hardest pieces of this, especially when you feel like you're shipping your kids off to someone who you don't trust, someone who has betrayed you. And of course, as a parent, your alarm bells are going off thinking, oh my God, am I sending my kids, you know, into a blizzard? Am I sending them into a fire? If you can, again, take that pause and step back and say, okay, but wait a minute. Have they ever hurt my children? What do they gain from having this relationship with their other parent? Um, if you can take that and remember that and I say this all the time, different people bring out different pieces of everyone's personality,
Mm-hmm.
right? And different people experience people differently. So your experience of me may be that I'm kind and patient and loving, and somebody else may see me as being passive and boring. And so we all experience
Yep.
people in different ways. And so I often will say to the kids in these positions, what has your experience been of your mom
Mm.
or of your dad? And
So,
that often will be a big light switch for people.
yeah. And what would you say to the people that know that the other person or the ex or the former or whatever is very toxic, but the kids still want to be with them and spend time with them, even though they've seen the toxicity?
That the power of that parental bond is incredible. It really
Mhm.
is. And so, what I like to say to people is, truthfully, what the research shows us is that one strong, steady, grounded parent can make all the difference in the world. And if you can hold on to the values and the things that you are teaching your kids and know that they are learning them, they'll be okay.
I'm so glad that you brought that up because you actually made a comment that we can't influence the other person. I think we can in some regards because when we respond in a way that's peaceful to them, even though they're throwing all the darts they can at us, our kids are watching. The kids are watching of how you respond versus how they respond, and they're going to learn and eventually grow up and say, you know what, this is a safe space, this is not so safe. Even
Yes.
though they still are in it and experiencing it and don't have the adult brain to process it, they can feel the difference. And so it is influencing them. I'm not, and also I think I kind of go back to the fact I used to be a property manager, and people would yell and scream at me all the time, and I would just kill them with kindness. Is that's what I was always say. I'm going to kill you with kindness. I love your dress. That's so cute. You know what I mean? Or like, and I'd say something, and they're like, "What?" And I
Mhm.
would just keep letting them go and keep letting them go, and it was so hard for me because I am a fighter, right? Like you. But I remember killing people with kindness, and eventually, if 15, 20, 30 minutes later, they'd be like, I'm sorry, I was a little like, I'm like, so I think we have some influence, but can we be attached to that result, right? Of whether or not they
Yes.
shift or not? No.
And I agree with you. We do have some
Yeah,
influence. Absolutely. But I think where we can lose our power is in the believing and hoping and waiting for our
exactly.
co-parent to change, because then we feel like, well, if they don't change, then what? Right. And so that's my role is part of my role is to help people see what's in your control, what's not in
Right.
your control, and how can you stay grounded in those things that are in your control. But also, you bring up something really important when you talk about killing people with kindness. My brain goes to co-regulation and mirror neurons. So,
Mm,
like, your central nervous system can impact my central nervous system. If we're in
mhm.
the same place, my central nervous system is sending messages to your central nervous system. If I'm responding in a way that's calm and grounded, that is going to have an impact on someone. Is it going to necessarily change who they are? No, but it could potentially change that moment. It
Yeah.
will likely change that moment.
Yeah, and I love that you said it. It's taking it back to grounding, right? And letting go of that expectation, whether or not they shift or not.
Yes.
That is
Yes.
hard.
Hmm. It's really hard. And if you think of it from a, like, I'm not going to give this person that kind of power. I'm not going to let them live rent free in my head. It becomes a little bit easier.
Yeah. And I mean, have you experienced the fact that where people just keep holding on to they keep trying different things and trying to influence or control, I should say. I just, they're trying to control the other parent and they just keep getting the feedback that it's not working. And so I'm like, look, let go of the expectation.
Hmm.
If you let
Hmm.
go of the expectation, then you're leaving room and for them to make choices and it doesn't hit you and drop you to the ground.
Yes. Yes. It's reclaiming your power. Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of a tree. I used to teach about conflict resolution, and so it's like somebody punching you, and it's like a branch in the wind. You're like, okay, now I come back. I don't break. I just bend.
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, I'm gonna sway and then come back to the center.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Well, so when people actually work with you, what is the difference between, well, we've actually kind of talked about this, the reacting versus the unresolved hurt. I think people realize hurt people hurt people. Talk
Hmm.
a little bit about that, where when it comes to responding back and still continuing to see the other person as a real person.
So I talk a lot about, I do a lot of values work and help people really dig down to what are your core values.
Mm,
And then once we can identify them, I like to say, now it's time for you to arm yourself with those values. And when you arm yourself with those values, you get to ask yourself the question, am I behaving in a way that is true to my values?
yeah.
And if not, what do I need in order to get back on course? Because I think in general, nobody really wants to act in a way that's not in alignment with their values.
Do you experience people actually understanding what their values are, or is it a really eye-opening experience when you sit down with them and go, okay, what do you value? They're like, what do I value?
A
Like,
lot of people have never sat
I
and thought that
know.
through. Like, and people kind of like when I say, well, what are your core values? They're like, what? Like, what
I
even is that?
That's
So
been my
then we do the
experience
core
too.
values exercises so that they can get to that. And then it's that I'm going to armor myself with my core values and I'm going to act from those places. It's also a very powerful lesson, what you referred to say, your kids are watching you. I often say to my parents, you never actually really taught your kids to walk or talk. They learned how to do that because they see you do that.
Yeah, that's well, and I'm again, I haven't been a parent, but I think that would be terrifying sometimes to see your kids in you, right?
Yes,
And you're like, oh my gosh, I totally do that. I better stop. You know what I
yes,
mean? Like
yes.
you want to be able to be like, no, 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 I'm still imperfect, but the kids are like modeling you and you're like, oh my
No,
gosh.
no, don't do that.
Yeah, don't model that.
Can
Model
you
all
pick
the
and
good
choose?
stuff, because then I have to be accountable to my kids.
Absolutely.
But I think sometimes the kids get lost in the mix of when it comes to divorce. I mean, I think, I think the adult is so in survival mode that they're just like, oh gosh, I can't handle you right now. Like just, and so the kids, I did a podcast it was last year sometime, I think, with a lady that talked about putting your kids in a leadership role in your divorce. I was like, what? Giving your kids, teaching them leadership during a divorce and not quieting or not putting them to the side and acknowledging the journey that they're on as well. But again, that takes a lot of support. Would you agree?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because if
Even
you
to
don't have your self-care, then there's no way you can share that mask with your kids.
Absolutely. Yes, and that's part of why it's the old oxygen mask adage, if you don't put yours on, you can't keep breathing and then what?
Yeah. And I heard that on the plane when I was on my business trip last week. I was like, yep, that's exactly true.
Hmm.
So
I
let's
think
talk a little bit about boundaries because this is another thing that I have found is that when people maybe for the first time have really evaluated their values, they also may not understand how to put healthy boundaries in place.
Mhm.
Talk a little bit about that and how important boundaries are in creating that co-parenting plan.
Boundaries are the woman who created the BEH2O program, her name is Trina Knudsen. She's an amazing lady. And she says, we put boundaries in place because we care, not because we don't care. The idea behind that, of course, is that boundaries will keep us safe. So I'm just going to give a really simple example of a boundary. I had a set of co parents that I worked with for quite a while. And the mom had been a stay at home mom, and dad had a really high power kind of job.
Mm-hmm.
And she would often during the day text him about kid related things. And he wouldn't be able to respond until after work. And she would get so frustrated and so angry and think, he's ignoring me. He doesn't care about his kids, all the places that our heads can go
Yeah.
to. So we worked on a communication system, and I talk a lot about systems and structures. And so we
Mm,
came up with, if there's something that needs immediate attention, um, mom can text him and he will respond after his workday. So now she knows she can text him at 12 o'clock, but she's not going to get a response until after 5:30 or 6
right.
o'clock. If it's an emergency, she's going to pick up the phone and call him. But so she gets to, because her thing was, well, what if I forget by the end of the day? Right? What if I forget that I need to talk to him about this? Okay,
Mhm.
so here you go. You can text and you can expect a response after 6 p.m. And that was a boundary that dad put in place. Like I can't do that while I'm at work. And
Mhm.
that was by design why she was a stay-at-home mom, because he didn't have the kind of a job where he could
Right.
be attentive during the day.
Yeah. And well, so boundaries are, I'm a structured boundary girl. And I say to people, we teach other people how to treat us.
Yes, we do.
And and I love that you brought up the you've got to be able to communicate in a peaceful manner that boundary, because we do, I mean, especially when you're in high trauma, right? You're going through this divorce or something and you create these crazy stories. He doesn't care, he doesn't want me, he doesn't want kids. And in reality, that's, I mean, let's put that aside. You know what I mean? Let's see what's really true, and let's see if we can come up with a plan so that we both can win.
Yes, yes. But more importantly, so the kids can win.
Exactly. Well, win,
Mhm.
win, win.
Yeah.
I'm all for the three wins, right?
Yes.
My sweet husband found this rock the other day because he knows how much I love triangles. Because that's what our,
Oh.
because it's a win, win, win. We hear the
Mhm.
win, win, but can we make it a win, win, win all the way across? And it doesn't mean that you're going to get it perfect the first time. I'm sure you've
I
had
know.
people put boundaries. You're like, oh, we need to adjust that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's and actually now that you bring that up, that's why Trina named BEH2O BEH2O, because beryllium is a mineral and it's hard. So it's encouraging us to put good boundaries in place.
Um,
Water, obviously, is flowy and flexible. So it's being able to set the boundaries, but being able to be flexible within those boundaries.
mm. I think people often think boundaries is like it's a wall. I'm like, no,
Yes.
no. It is literally it's a safe harbor for everybody to interact and to communicate and to work together as a team. Because I think that it does take a village to get married. It also takes a village to get divorced.
It
And
does. It really does.
yeah, I shouldn't say it takes a village to get married because it only takes two. Like, there's no judge that signs off on that. You know what I mean? Like, well, I guess there
That is
is. There's
true.
somebody that I just, and I love that you brought up that it's a business because, when I was going through my second divorce, my mom, I mean, it was so highly litigated and just, it was insane. And she just said, Becky, this is now just business. You got to pull your big girl panties up and get to work.
Mhm.
And you got to take the emotion out and it's hard. It's so hard, especially when you're attacking that way. What do you say would be some of the things that you have seen have been common mistakes that parents, when they're dealing with their co-parenting, are making, and what are the very simple shifts that they can make that will make a difference?
Making decisions too quickly is one of them.
Yeah, I love that.
Making decisions without thinking them through.
Hmm.
And there's the power of the pause. Another one is using the internet, Dr. Google, to get your answers. I never think that's a good idea. And relying on family members and friends who have gone through divorce and given their experience believe that they have all the answers to offer you, when the answers are always different because the dynamics of every relationship are different.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm all about educating yourself, but you've got to be super careful about where you're getting your information from.
Yes. Yes.
And yeah, because it will send you, it reminds me of ChatGPT, or I mean, all these AI things. It's like you can ask the same question to all of them and get all different answers.
Hmm.
And you're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm in a relationship with a narcissist. That's what I said to my business partner the other day. I said, I seriously feel like I'm being torn in 10 different directions. I'm
Hmm.
like, no, 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 that's not what I need.
Yes.
I need a
Yes.
clear path,
Hmm.
right? And to know the answers.
I think the other thing that I would say as a big mistake is people contacting attorneys first.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. What
Yes.
would you suggest they do?
Um, I would say a coach, a therapist, um, maybe a mediator, other professionals in the field who can give you some guidance on how this works, what your options are. Because even there's even different kinds of attorneys. There are attorneys who practice collaborative law, there are attorneys who practice litigation. A lot of people don't know that. And how would you know that unless you have to know that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you just brought up a really good point too, is how do people also trust the professionals that are out there? First of all, a lot of people, I don't think, in my experience in divorce, realize that there's all these amazing people out here. Number one. Number two is how do they know? And I personally say you've got to interview. And this is one of the reasons why I have the Divorcing Strong podcast, is so that they get to spend a half an hour with you. They get to feel how you work,
Hmm.
your energy, how
Hmm.
you interact, and you're like, yes, that's my girl.
I believe, spending 30 minutes with someone will give you a feeling. Credentials are important. I do want to say,
Yes.
one of the things about the coaching industry is that it's not very regulated. So essentially, anybody can step into it and call themselves a coach. Sad but true. And so I will say credentials are important. You want to make sure that they have a background in education around what you need. Um, but then that conversation of, is this a good fit? Is this, my person? I'll share with people, like, I'm the kind of a coach, I'm going to ask you a lot of questions. I'm going to give you a lot of feedback. If the feedback feels like it doesn't fit, I want to know that. Like, I don't want you to sit with that and think, this person doesn't really know me very well. And if that's not your style, then we're not a good fit.
Well, and I love that you said that, Rita, because I think a lot of people feel like it's a cookie cutter, like every situation. Um, and in this space, people can be a runaway train telling their story when it's not the most important information that you need to focus on. So they
Hmm.
can feel sometimes unheard because, like, even when people call me, I'm like, okay, let me, this is the information I need so that I can help you get the information that you need. So it is really an interview process, and who's going to work best with your personality and
Hmm.
who's not. So, I mean, speaking of which, what would you say would be the ideal client for you that comes to you early on, middle of it, towards the end? Like, who's ideal for you? The type of people
So
that you find work really well.
So I will work with anybody anywhere along the spectrum. You don't even actually have to be married. You just have to share kids and not be in a
Ah,
romantic relationship
okay.
anymore. Um, for me,
Which is happening more often
it
nowadays, by the
is,
way. Mhm.
yes. But ideally for me, it's early on because you haven't established bad co-parenting
Mm,
habits yet, because co-parenting is a whole new thing, right?
mhm.
So if we can get you early and set you up with good systems and structures, It's just much easier for everybody. And the impact on your kids
Yeah.
is much less if you do it well from the beginning.
There's
Now,
little damage control.
yes. And kids, I want to say kids don't need perfect parents. They
Right.
really don't. They just need parents who are mindful and grounded.
Yeah. No, I love that. And do you also do consultations? Do you
I
allow
do. I offer a free 30-minute consultation to anyone who's interested. Absolutely.
100%? And that is so invaluable for people that are going through. And again, like whether you're talking to a coach, whether you're talking to a therapist, or whether you're talking to an attorney, I always say it's important to interview them first and then make a list. I mean, at least this is what I did. I'm just going to speak from what I did, is that I made a list and a spreadsheet of all the people, and I would leave notes after I spoke with them, like, oh, I loved how they did this, or I did not get a good feeling about that one. Because you never know when another thing comes up and you're like, okay, I'm ready to employ or hire you or whatever. If you don't take notes, you forget. You
Yes.
forget.
Yes.
And so thank you so much for being willing to do that. And they can go to this website, the Co-Parenting's Path.
Yes. I also say, as before you step into an interview with someone, make a list of questions that you want to ask.
Absolutely.
Be prepared.
Yeah,
And as
because
part of that spreadsheet, what was the feeling you had when you walked out?
exactly. That's what I think people, I mean, I talk to so many attorneys, and there's still one attorney who used to be a judge. And I finally found him all these years later, and I was talking to him for a different reason, for the code, or for the only subpoenas. And I let him know, I said, all those years ago, I know you don't remember me, but I remember you. And I remember the extra few minutes that you gave me and how you got me one step further in my process. It wasn't the right fit at that point, but I did want him to know that that mattered to me. And all the people I talked to, I remembered him, you know? And that's what not everybody's, and I don't believe that there's any competition. I believe everybody's been drawn or goes to the people that they're meant to go to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so important to do the vetting. I mean, if there's any time in your life that you need to make sure that you vet people, whether it's an attorney, don't just take the first one, or a coach or a therapist, you've got to find the right fit. And you're not going to know perfectly beforehand, but do your best.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do your
I always
best.
say to people, I don't expect you to trust me implicitly, at the end of this 30 minutes, but what's the feeling? What does your gut tell you?
And I love that you get them to acknowledge that, right? Because that tells you that you're telling them that it's important to you. So, and
Yes.
to them. I love
Yes.
that. I love that. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Rita, we could keep talking because it's like, I know I didn't have the kids and stuff like that, but I just know how ever since a little kid, I knew how I felt as a kid. And my family ran and operated in a summer camp for kids. So I saw a lot of kids come through our program or through our camp that had been through divorce or going through it. So I don't know, maybe that's why my heart is like super soft towards
Mm-hmm.
kids
Mm-hmm.
and what they go through. So thank you so much for doing what you do and continuing to do what you do. So if you do want to contact Rita, make sure you go to her website. Also, all of her contact information is here in the show notes. And as you always know, I love to finish off with this last question, which Rita does not know yet.
I don't.
But what does divorcing strong mean to you? And let's put the caveat on, what does divorcing strong mean to you when it comes to kids?
It means that your kids know that they can love both of their parents and have relationships with both of their parents. That's what that means to me.
I love it that they're not forced into a decision to love one or the other. They can do the and.
Yes.
We can
Yes.
love both.
Yes. And they're supported in loving both.
Yeah, that is a really, really important thing to end with. Because I do believe that every single person in this planet matters. And that also goes with the divorce and children. Because the children matter.
They do matter. They do.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Rita, for joining us today. And please reach out to her. Take advantage of that 30-minute consultation to see if it's the right fit for her. And you do work nationwide. It's not
I do.
just, Yeah, you're back east, but I know you do nationwide. So do you help women and men?
I do. I can work with one parent or I can work with both. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, perfect. I wanted to make sure that was clear. So thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule and your patience with me this morning
You're
and
very
getting
welcome.
started. And yep, reach out to her. And hold on just one second, Rita.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much, you guys, for joining on us in another episode of Divorcing Strong podcast. And I have been your host, Becky Sampson, with Rita Morris. And please, one of the things that I really appreciated when I was going through my divorce was when I was given leads to people who referred me, and the talks and the little tidbits that they were all giving me, and the people who helped me get through this path. And Rita is definitely one of those. When you have kids, and if you're dealing with a high conflict or even just anything with kids, and you're wanting to set yourself up for success through it, please reach out to her and take advantage of that 30-minute consultation by going to thecoparentspath.com. I also just wanted to remind you that we are on all the audio platforms. You can go to Divorcing Strong, or it's Divorcing Strong with Becky Sampson. And also another resource for you guys is this free download, is if you want to understand the terminology, the legal terminology, and there are some stuff in there when it comes to your legal rights with kids, things like that. You may not understand fully what the terminology means. Go and download that. It's on over 100 divorce legal terms so that you know how to better navigate and talk to attorneys, to other professionals in this industry. Go download it. It's totally 100% free. And yeah, join us on another episode of Divorcing Strong. I've been Becky Sampson, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for listening to the Divorcing Strong podcast. This episode is sponsored by Only Subpoenas, where we make subpoenas simple, powerful, and 100% compliant. If you're having a hard time getting the information you need to settle for a fair and equitable divorce, let us help you. Whether you're an attorney or you're navigating divorce on your own, subpoenas can uncover the truth, secure the evidence you need, and level the playing field. To see how we can help, book an appointment by visiting our website at onlysubpoenas.com.